What's going on, folks? Welcome back to Bed Boys, your one-stop shop for all your energy drink reviews and performance talks. I'm Christian,
Brian.
and we are the Bed Boys. And today we got a Q&A episode. I think this is currently going to be the last episode to end out the year of 2025, which is crazy to say. Coming up on 2 years of the podcast, which is sick. And it's been a while since we did one of these Q&As, so we figured we'd put it on the old Instagram and see what we got. And we got a lot of questions and we got a lot of good ones. So shout out to everyone that submitted questions to the pod. We're gonna answer all of them. Some probably in more depth than others. We got some serious ones. We got some funny ones. But I'm looking forward to it. First, I have to pop top though because I'm fucking tired. Got in. I actually just got back to Iowa, so had like a later flight. But I had to pick this bad boy up. Shout out to Casey's; they were still open. Um, I picked up a heavy hitter. I haven't had this flavor before, but I have had this drink. So there's a C4 Ultimate Energy, and this is the Frost Berry Freeze. So
Sounds pretty good.
yeah, as you know, we're a big fan of C4. The Ultimate Energy is obviously the 300 milligram canned 16 ounce tri-stim experience. So it kind of has that extended release caffeine, has the caffeine anhydrous, but also the a little bit of the extended release with the green coffee bean extract. So I'm looking forward to this. It's just a berry flavor, so it's not a blue raspberry, it's not a grape, it's a berry flavor. So I'm really looking forward to it. I do like the can. I like the way they do kind of the
Like the
black.
frosted.
Yeah, and like it's they do a good job on the cans with the ultimate. I think it's kind of like the blacked out version. So without
I
further
I
ado,
I want to see you pop that top.
yeah,
Do
it
they
does
have
say
anything
cool.
written on it?
So it says, let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. Buckle up. 300 milligrams of caffeine plus teacrine and dynamine is the ultimate triple threat. Supercharged energy. C4 Ultimate Energy is supercharged to go hard, just like you. Crack one open and get after it. Am I talking to
Wait, what?
Jocko?
Pause.
Exactly. Am I talking to Jocko here? Get after it. Bold flavor. Crack open any icy blast of energy and taste an Arctic swirl of tangy blackberry and zesty lemonade.
Oh,
When the can
zesty.
turns when the can turns blue, embrace the frost and prepare to be cold AF. Damn. Oh, so it's like a blackberry lemonade flavor. Ooh,
That's kind of exciting.
yeah,
The
I'm like
only
looking
the only other blackberry lemonade is Gorilla Mind.
exactly. So I have to compare. All right,
Have to.
let's go, boys. Not bad, not bad.
Initial smell test.
I'm smelling berry, a little bit of lemon.
Are you going hard AF right now?
I'm going hard AF. It is a clear energy drink, also, just to note.
Big fan.
Hmm. Not as much carbonation. I guess are the
So,
C4s a little bit lower on carbonation? Can't even remember.
like the original cans aren't necessarily. I think
Okay, this one
I think the
feels a little bit
ultimates like tend to
lower.
be a little bit lighter.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit less carbonation for sure. It's like subtle.
Okay.
Um, I'm getting more blackberry than lemonade. It is more like a berry overall flavor. Not bad.
Okay.
Just first impressions, I think I like the Gorilla Mind better.
Okay.
Shocker, but this is definitely heavier on the berry flavor. But
Versus like the lemonade or like that 50-50 split like Gorilla Mind.
exactly, but I'll have to let it soak in to the taste buds. Soak
I
what I
do
said.
not I do not have a top to pop today. So I'm drinking a Wandering Bear cold brew. Shout out Wandering Bear. It's a s'mores flavor. We drink that black. And I won't be popping top, but I will be cracking back because I have the raw nutrition RTD protein shake, not the ones that you would find at Vitamin Shop or anything like that. This is a slightly different one. So like the ones that in the plastic bottles that you find at say Vitamin Shop or like a GNC, that's like the chocolate milkshake flavor. This is just standard chocolate. Now, With that being said, I kind of like the cardboard, like wax containers. Big
The
fan of
Tetra
those.
Pak.
The Tetra Pak, yeah. And then 30 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, 150 calories. There is 2 grams of fat, 3 grams of carbohydrate. Like this is about as lean as you can get. So the
And
price on these is incredible. I told you about this before, but bought a 12 pack at Sam's Club. Shout out to the Sam. Great person. I don't know if it's a
Uncle
girl or boy,
Sam.
but shout out to him. $20 for a 12 pack. You cannot get a better deal on an RTD protein shake in any way, shape, or form. But no artificial sweeteners. It's gluten free, so for all the people who are gluten free, and then a sick big word that they're gonna throw at me. I'm gonna mess it up. Carrageenan free, which I don't know what that means, but they're throwing a lot of big words at me, and because I don't know what it means, I'm gonna take offense to that, like they're trying to call me stupid.
Or you're going to think it's a very good product just
Yeah,
because it sounds fancy.
still looks great. Obviously raw across the label, but without further ado, let's crack that back. Little pre shake. Smells like chocolate. Oh wow. It tastes like a lighter, not as thick Fairlife.
Okay.
Like a very subtle flavor. Like you could pound this and you're not going to be like, oh, I feel like terrible.
Yeah. I like the cardboard too. Reminds me of
The,
the we had the Tetra Packs in the DR, because we couldn't drink the tap
the
water
water.
because it was the DR. Had the Cubs custom Tetra Pak waters.
I'm a big fan of the Tetra Pak. The plastic bottles are neat. I don't know what it is though. That I know the Tetra Pak is cheaper. I know it's cheaper in my brain.
Yeah. Just
It feels
cardboard.
more premium, but it feels more premium than the
It's the
plastic
box
bottle.
shape. It's the box shape.
Yeah, it's just so different.
It's just because it's different. Because it's
Raw.
different, it's better.
Yeah, I mean we're going in raw. But if Raw wants to sponsor us, I'll gladly take a shipment of these every week and destroy them and pound them while I crack the back on these. We're gonna be on one of those out of pocket episodes today, kids. So
Yeah, I guess this is a warm up for some of the questions we got. Some
yeah,
of them
this
are
is just a warm up.
again, you guys came through. Some of them are so bad that we literally can't say them on the podcast, and that's saying something. Because we didn't really give a fuck a lot of times. Um,
But they were incredible to talk about pre-show.
yeah. So off
Maybe
air,
we can
if
go to
you're
Patreon.
yes, if your question doesn't get answered, just know that that's like a little good job to you for
Yeah,
having an. It was out of pocket enough that we couldn't say it, but yeah, we need to get a Patreon so we can just
get
go
into
full
these.
throttle. Yeah,
Just go full throttle.
yeah, exactly. Dude, should we
Um,
just dive in here?
I want to dive in. Do you want to do a serious one or a fun one first?
Dude, let's warm it up with since we just popped top and cracked back. Let's warm it up with some energy drink topics.
Let's
Dude,
do it.
I got a I got a good amount of questions, and I got a few people that asked multiple questions, which I thought was really cool. Um,
Yeah,
I'm gonna start it off with the Lake Monster, Hunter Lakey. Shout out, dude asked me like four questions, so shout out to you. Let's see, one, two, actually like five, dude. So huge shout out to you. Appreciate you. Thoughts on Ghost new flavors releasing in 2026. So
he's
we had some
probably
really we got some really good ones. I think he's probably referring to. It's pretty much
the A and
confirmed that.
W.
Yep, it's pretty much confirmed that the A&W root beer is going to come out. I think that's slated for like August or something. It's a little bit later in the year.
The 7 Up flavor is coming out with that. And
Yep,
then
7 Up.
the Blue Raz,
Welch's.
obviously.
Yep, the blue raspberry that's replacing the blue Sour Patch Kids is coming
Mhm.
out, as well as the Welch's cranberry grape to kind of build off just the Welch's grape. So those will be interesting. I mean, the one I'm most excited for, and it's probably not surprising, is the A&W root beer, just
Root
because
beer.
like I feel like it's going to be
That
if
and Bum.
yeah, it's going to be like just a higher caffeine version of Bum Energy, and if they're partnering up with A and W, it's gonna hit.
It's
Um,
going to be a real root beer flavor. It's going to have that vanilla like aftertaste to it. That's probably the one I'm most excited for too. I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie. Anyone who's watched the show knows we are root beer fans. We're both Midwest kids. We grew up drinking root beer, grew up drinking cream soda. Like that's our thing, you know? And we begged and begged and begged, and we talked about a drink that we didn't really like, which was Bang, but they had the root beer flavor that we both were like, okay, like if they had one good flavor, that was that flavor. It was that and the Arnold Palmer. Lo and behold, 2025 was the year of the Arnold Palmer flavor. Ghost came out with one that's incredible. Bum came out with one that was incredible. And then now, like, Bum also came out with their root beer flavor. We loved it. And we were like, the only thing is we want something a little higher stim.
Hmm.
Now we're getting the A&W root beer flavor in Ghost. I think that's like if you look at just the Ghost flavors that are releasing next year, that's gotta, I mean, that's like number one for both of us. What about like what's your number two on that?
Oof. See, I'm not a huge like Seven Up fan.
Me neither.
I mean, if you like that, it's gonna be really good.
Hmm.
Honestly, I was a pretty big fan of the Sour Patch Kids Blue Raz. So I'm assuming it's gonna be similar, but it's probably gonna be a little bit different. So I'm excited to see if they just try to like copy it exactly. The Welch's grape cranberry, I'll try it. I'm not a huge cranberry juice guy, but I know some people are gonna be like, "Damn, I'm really excited for that."
It's me. I'm some people.
Yes. The one that I'm really waiting for, and I know there's been like AI mock-ups of it, but I don't think they've ever
You're
like
gonna say
officially
it.
said anything, is the Dr. Pepper. And we're waiting for that one too. Um,
Please.
yeah, please. A Dr. like A&W root beer and a Dr. Pepper would be an elite combo. So I really hope that Ghost kind of pulls through and maybe towards the end of 2026 potentially we see that. It's to me it's just an obvious like they partner with Keurig, they got bought out by Keurig Dr. Pepper. I'm assuming they're just kind of like dragging it out. Um, it's like a suspenseful movie. It's like a sitcom. You have to like lead on to the next episode. You can't just give it all at once.
Exactly. And they're hitting some of the under brands on it right now. When I say under brands, not the underperforming, but like the brands that are under the umbrella of like the Dr. Pepper side, hitting Seven Up, hitting A&W. Like I think this is going to be, especially those two flavors. Those are going to be there. We have proof in the pudding, that these sold well, and we did it with a lower, I guess like a lower cost, to where it's like if it failed, it's like we tried it but it didn't work, and that kind of shows the, like I said, the proof to go up and go after like the top brand on the stack, which would be Dr. Pepper there, to then do a Dr. Pepper flavor.
Hmm.
What I would love to see is they do the A&W, they do the 7 Up, and all the while they're building up the tension to release those, they're formulating Dr. Pepper. And this is how I would kind of roll this out is I would say, okay, then by the time that those release, Dr. Pepper flavor is into production. And that by end of 2026, you see like a big reveal of like, hey, we finally released the Dr. Pepper flavor. Then they come back and they do one of those variety packs like they do right now, where you can get like, I believe it's peach, cherry limeade, and the Welch's. You can get those as like an 18 pack at like a Costco or at a Sam's Club. I would love for them to come out and be like, we have the soda shop pack where it's Dr. Pepper 7 Up and
Oh,
A&W
that
root
would be
beer.
so good.
You rip that, it's an undeniable, like, just success, in my opinion, because not only are you getting all the people who love Ghost Energy, all the people who love energy drinks, but you're in a value pack at like a giant, uh, big box chain store to where they're going to be like, oh my God, that's an energy drink, but it tastes like the stuff that I like and I already drink. Then they start to buy that. I just think that would be like a great success. Maybe Ghost, if you guys want to sponsor us, I don't have a Ghost Energy in front of me, but I'll take a picture with it.
Yeah, it just makes too much sense to me.
Hmm.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Lakey, we're very excited in short, but that was a very
Very.
drawn out answer. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, going kind of off that theme. I know we're gonna get to some of the other questions that the old Lake Monster asked, but I think I want to get to some of them that are kind of in the same theme as far as energy drinks, and then we'll kind of move into more serious ones. So, speaking of Ghost, I got a question from Coach Dave Foreman. So, shout out to you. Ghost Energy, rank them. We did this, I think, something similar. We did like a tier list on these.
Hmm.
Just going off, man, there's a lot of Ghost Energy flavors. I could definitely give you my top five right off the bat. I'm gonna go from the top and start to work down. I'll probably go iced tea lemonade. It's got to be my number one. So good. I mean, you can't even find it now. It's like off the shelf.
Yeah,
But that's my number one. My number two is I think is still gonna have to be citrus. I mean, it's like tastes just like Mountain Dew. It was between that and are they still doing the Swedish Fish or is that gone now that they're
that's gone as well.
I think that was for the longest while, I was really liking the Swedish Fish.
Hmm.
I don't even know if I could say that now. They don't even make that flavor. It was between that and the citrus before the iced tea lemonade came out. After that, I probably have to go. I got to go sour pink lemonade, and then to round out five, if I'm gonna include the Swedish Fish to round out five, I'm gonna go the cherry limeade.
So good.
Solid pick. And then after that, if I go a little bonus,
Our honorable mention.
honorable mention. I'm trying to think what. Oh, you know which one? Which one I think is kind of underrated? Is the like the Phase Clan, the Phase Pop. I really liked that one.
I'm not an like a Liberty Pop, Rocket
I'm
Pop type
not
of
a
flavor
huge
guy,
fan
and that
either,
one
but
does
that
hit.
one exactly. Like I'm not a huge because like I don't really like I've had their red, white, and blue pop. I know some people that like it a lot. I'm
Hmm.
just not a huge fan of that flavor in general, whether it's that Gorilla Mind, um, 3D does one. I think that's probably my favorite out of the three, but that Phase Pop one
Yeah.
was pretty good. Yeah, that's
All
probably
right.
like the top. And then after that, it goes. I mean, like I said, I was a fan of the Sour Patch. I used to be a really big fan of the Orange Creamsicle. Not that I don't like it now, but I haven't been
It
liking
kind of
Orange
fell off.
Cream. Yeah, I just haven't been liking orange cream drinks as much. Trying to think of one that I just don't go to very often. I'm not a huge fan of like the peaches. I just don't
It's
like peach
okay.
in it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the energy drink is tough to do alone. It's just kind of more of a mild and mellow flavor, which if that's what you like, great. The original isn't bad. It's
It's just standard energy drink.
yeah, it's standard. Um, I'm trying to think if there's something I haven't tried. I'm not sure if I tried the electric limeade.
I'm a fan. I do like it. It's more tart.
Okay.
Yeah. If I think if I went my top five, right? I just for simplicity's sake. By the way, shout out Dave. I still remember we were at the Charlotte NSCA conference, and he found out I love energy drinks, and he found out I love Ghosts. He came in the next day and he brought me in like 4 cans just to say what's up when I was at the team builder booth. Like, incredible dude. Um, but if I'm ranking these, obviously iced tea lemonade's my number one. I guess without ranking it formally on the show, this is me formally saying like it has unseated my now my number two for all-time favorite drink, which is sour pink lemonade. That's number two. If I go number three, this is where it gets a little murky. I think if I my number three goes to energy, I think I go cherry limeade. That's my number three. Number four, which is a newer flavor, is the raspberry cream. I'm a big fan of that one. Raspberry cream, that's it's new, but it's shot right up the rankings. Five again, this is where it's like it could be you could be five, you could be six, depending on the day. So I'm gonna give like my five and six, and that's gonna be the Strabango Margarita. Big fan of that. And then I think that honorable mention that could sometimes flop into five would be the sour strips flavor.
Ooh, I forgot about that. I think that's coming to stay here in the
It's now going to
2026.
be a permanent flavor, yeah. But those, I think that would be like, and now this is completely, this list is subject to change in 2026 when Blue Raz, when the Grape Cran, when A&W, and maybe 7 Up squeaks up there. You never know. I'm not a big like Sprite 7 Up guy, but if that comes into it and it turns out it's really good, it might move up the chain.
Yeah, that's
Great
right. I
question.
haven't. I know. Shout out Dave Foreman. Yeah, I haven't had the sour strips flavor since I think I was at Elon and you brought in that 12 pack. That was
Yeah,
a really good flavor though. That was a really good
it
flavor.
was. It was just a limited release, and I'm really
Mm.
glad that like with the Mondelez deal not being there as much, that they're like turning to their more internal kind of brands with like their partnership with Max and like bringing that flavor on full time. That was a good
Yeah,
one.
that was a really good one. To build off that, we got a direct comparison here. Cut straight
Ooh.
to the point. Coach Ronnie Baker, shout out. By the way, he's another guy that was in our master's program, which we just finished. So congrats, glad we're done. He asked, he's a strength coach out of Texas, trained out of a private facility. Yellow 3D or C4 Lemonade? This is a good one.
Ooh.
And this guy knows energy drinks. I know he's
Ooh.
serious about this. Um, this is a really good one. They're both very good, and if you do a good lemonade energy drink, that's
Both
tough
of
to
those you
beat.
can't go wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong. My initial reaction is the yellow 3D is just so like nostalgic, and the C4 lemonade is also great, but like the yellow can, it had like the Alpha Land
Logo on
logo.
them.
It was a little bit different than all the other cans.
It was
The
almost like a
flavor's
limited edition.
delicious. Yeah, like I got to go with the yellow 3D. Obviously, like the C4 has a little bit more of like pre-workout ingredients. So if you want that, you might want to go with that. But to me, I got to go yellow 3D all day long.
I'm right there with you. I think the formula is a little bit more complete in the C4, but if I'm just going off of like they're right on the bat up with each other of like 200 milligrams of caffeine. The can just looks so sick. You feel that, like you said, that nostalgia. Like that is YouTube 2015. That is fitness YouTube 2015. Christian Guzman loves lemon. Like I remember when he did the Ghost, like for his limited run of like for pre-workouts, Ghost went through and did like he had like like almost like an electric lemonade like pre-workout. And then he did like a lemon pound cake, an ice lemon pound cake, like protein that I think I worked through in a week on that whole tub. So good, man. Like it's just that 3D, if they could bring that back in the new formulas, unreal.
Yeah, 3D really has a special spot in the market just because their flavors are very good. It's a simple
They're-
formula, but the price is just
It's so dirt
unbeatable.
cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just unbeatable. So, yeah, man, 3D, yeah, the yellow 3D for sure, but the C4
Oh yeah.
lemonade is also an elite flavor. So,
Yes.
yeah, shout out Coach Ronnie Baker. Appreciate you. See if I have any more that are related to energy drinks, or do you have some? I feel like I've been hogging the mic here.
I don't have one on energy drinks. I have two other fun ones right now.
Let's hear
The
it.
first one, Will Swatala. That was my high school quarterback, is my buddy. Um, I love the
QB
way he's
one.
QB1. I love the way you framed this question, but creatine for non-athletes, just normal Joes. Thoughts? Question mark. Like I love the way that that's kind of thrown together in there. Um, it's a fun way. I think everybody should take creatine. I think, whether it be muscular performance, the ATP-PCR cycle, or if you're looking at it as a cognitive function, it's the safest and most studied supplement in the entire realm of fitness and sports performance. It's such a big thing that it should be just necessary. 2 to 5 grams every day. Don't worry about loading. Just take a creatine monohydrate. You can get it from Raw. You can get it from Ghost. You can get it from anywhere. And it's the cheapest form. It's the most efficacious and studied form. I think it's perfect throw it in your water, drink it in the morning. I think you're good to go. Cognitive function, muscular hypertrophy, you'll saturate the intracellular tissues of the muscular system or in your muscles with water, which hydrates them, which does make you look more full. There's a common thing that people think of like, oh, it's going to make you feel bloated, you're going to get cramps. That's not true. You're it's probably exposing anything if you're not drinking enough water, which you should be on a general basis. And if I'm telling you I'm not cramping or getting bloated, trust me, you're not. Because my water is always laced with something else of caffeine or some kind of flavoring or something. Like if I'm not dying, you're not dying.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's probably some like rare circumstances where you may have. I'm sure there's like I don't know if there's like a creatine allergy or some
Yeah,
adverse reaction, but like I feel like that's very rare because you are consuming some creatine if you eat animal
red
products. Like
meat.
if you eat red meat, you are getting some. And you might say, "Oh, why can't I just eat red meat?" Yeah, you can do it that way, but you would have to in order to get like that 5 grams of creatine, you're probably gonna have to eat like 2 to 4 pounds of meat per day, and think about doing that every day. Which like I'm all for. I love steak, but that could just get very expensive, honestly. And creatine is a very inexpensive supplement. Just stick with the monohydrate. There's a lot of other kinds out there. I think monohydrate is just like
It's
repeatedly
so
shown to
pure.
be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been shown to be the best kind, and it's also pretty much the cheapest. Um, Generally, I mean, like Creapure is like usually the best quality creatine monohydrate usually comes from Creapure in Germany. So if you really want to get specific with it, you can get that. But I think any creatine monohydrate will be good enough. Like you said, five
Which
grams a day.
most big box brands will use Creapure and just
Mhm.
label it as their own. But you can
Exactly.
obviously buy straight from the source, I'm pretty sure. Even bulk supplements, I believe, uses Creapure. Um, so I would say, like, if I'm taking three supplements right now off the top of my head of like, this is stuff that you should take daily. I'm taking D3, creatine, and then probably like an alpha GPC. Like, and
Yeah.
I do take
So
it daily.
that,
I just don't take a pill of it. I just drink
yeah.
it.
I was like, I'd take that or maybe an omega, depending on what your diet's like.
Yeah.
Um, and there's
There's
also been
just
some other research saying that like more than even up to like 10, 20 grams of creatine a day has
it's
shown like even
extremely beneficial. Yeah.
exactly, which that just comes to a point like I would say take at least 5 grams. Maybe if you're a little bit bigger guy, like if maybe you're
Then that
200 pounds
five to
plus,
10.
maybe yeah, maybe 5 to 10. If you're really trying to, there was a good podcast. I think it was, I want to say it was on Diary of a CEO, but the guest was what's her name? Dr. Rhonda Patrick has a lot
Oh,
of really good stuff on anything like nutrition supplementation. Definitely check out her stuff. And she was talking about like she'll take different amounts of creatine depending on how much sleep she gets and what she has to do that day because it's been shown to actually be able to reverse some of the effects or mitigate some of the effects of sleep deprivation if you take more of that 10 to 20 grams. So I think she was saying like, oh yeah, like I flew in and I had a long flight, so I actually took 20 grams because that's been shown to mitigate some of the effects of sleep deprivation. So that's not an excuse to not try to get enough sleep, but just know that that's just a testament to how powerful creatine is as a supplement, both physically and cognitively. So,
big fan. Great question. Shout out Will. Um, one more little fun one here, but I love this one. Colby, Colby Robbins. Shout out Swolby. Um, Sharon Moore getting freaky. What's our take on that?
I don't even know. I don't even think I'm up to date on this situation.
So Sharon Moore
Sharon.
was the head coach at University of Michigan, got caught cheating on his wife with his executive assistant. The long list of timelines that kind of occur is once he got hired, he promoted her, and she went from making like $45,000 a year to like 95 with during this time. Um, it sounds like the administration kind of knew what was going on. However, it's like up in the air on if that's true or not. But once this all came to light, he also got arrested because he like broke into her place after this all kind of went down. It went out. So like the downfall of Rome, of Sharon Moore kind of occurring, not only do you not win after winning a national championship, but you take the head job after Harbaugh leaves, you've kind of faltered in that position, and then you get caught cheating on your wife and the mother of your, I think he has two or three kids with your executive assistant who you just gave a raise to. Like you went every wrong move ever, and that's not even including that you lost to Ohio State.
What is it with man, what is it with Michigan head coaches? Wasn't Juwan Howard the basketball coach and he got fired
Yeah,
for something?
similar.
Let me look at this. I'm looking up Juwan Howard now.
Dude, here's my take.
Altercation.
You have, I don't want to say this, but like you have the world by the balls
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
the
he got in
head
like a
coach of
fight.
Michigan football. Why would you possibly want to screw that up? Also, what time do you have? You're a P4 head football coach. Your time, you are always recruiting. You're always preparing for the next opponent. You're doing all this. You barely have time to see your own family, let alone a second one.
It's just that stress relief, dog. It's, I don't
It doesn't
yeah,
make
I
sense
don't
to me.
it's it's like what is it called? Like King's disease. Like
The Messiah complex.
you get to that point and you're just like I can't like I'm untouchable. I'm like I don't know how much money he was making.
I
Probably
think he was making like 3 or 4 million a year,
yeah, it's like you're
which
making seven figures a year.
it's like, yeah, you get this like God complex, this Messiah complex to where you think you're untouchable because you've had a good track record of doing everything that's really good that you think nothing I ever do could go wrong. And I can't remember there was a famous, I think Arnold kind of talked about this as like a little bit of, you think you have the golden touch because everything you touch, it does well, and then he kind of lost some of his as he did some movies and the movies kind of flopped. And he's like, it brought me back to reality on that. And I think that's just this is kind of like the epitome of when that happens. And it always happens.
Yeah, it's interesting too because this was like his looks like this was his first head coaching job.
Yeah, he was the co-offensive coordinator and then he got bumped up, which I don't know, man. It seems such a stupid thing to do. Obviously, I'm not in the guy's brain, but it's pretty easily to just be like, hey, don't cheat on your wife. Take your job seriously. Go home to your family. Like when you write it down and you look at it, you're like, yeah, that's pretty reasonable rules. Bev Boys is
Yeah,
official. We are anti-cheat.
yeah, don't do that.
It just seems so stupid to me.
No, it definitely is very stupid. Like, regardless of, you know, this just gets exposed because he's in such a high profile like situation in a high profile position, but
It's like the
especially you have
CEO.
three kids too.
It
Damn.
was like the CEO that was like macking on his employee at the Coldplay concert and they got exposed.
Yeah, that's broad daylight.
Yeah, like it's just to a certain, you're like, what are you doing? And then they like pulled old clips of like Sharon and her, and he's like got her next to him, like pregame on the sideline, like as he's like waving to everybody as the new head coach. It's like, wouldn't you normally bring, you see every other head coach in the country when they do that, they're either out there with like their staff, like as their coaching staff, or they're out there like with their family, like waving hello or something. They don't really bring out their executive assistant and omit their family for that.
Right.
So just a
Long story
stupid
short,
move.
we do not approve. Bad behavior.
Certified loser.
Yeah.
Uh, should we get into some serious ones now? Now that we've
Yeah.
had our fun.
Yeah. I'll have to round out. I have a lot more, but yeah. Let's get to some serious ones, then we can kind of circle back.
Sounds good. I'm gonna bring a deep cut out here because I think this is a good way to start with the like transitioning over to some of the serious ones. Josh Newman came on the podcast. Great episode with him. If you guys haven't watched it, go back and watch that. But Josh asks, what would you do if you weren't afraid of being wrong? which is such a good question. If you look at your year in retrospect, it's like, what would you change for next year, kind of going forward? I want you to go first because I feel like I gotta like take a second. Burp.
Had to mute quick so I didn't hurt people's ears with that belch. Yeah, that's a really good question. Shout out Josh. Definitely go check out his episode. What would I do if I wasn't afraid of being wrong? I would start a cult. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, we have talked about that on the show previously. I can't think of a specific thing that I would do, but I think like, and this is like a hypothetical, but it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think like long story short, I would probably take a few more risks, or just I don't know if it'd be taking more risks or just be more willing to look a little bit more stupid, which is something that like I feel like I try to do anyway in order
Hmm.
to learn. Because I think a lot of times when people are afraid of being wrong or looking dumb, looking bad, and it's just especially prevalent as people get older, like it's a little bit easier to like feel like that's okay when you're younger. But when you're like older and maybe more established in your job, I think that definitely becomes a factor. Like you feel like you need to know instead of being the one that's in the not know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we do a pretty good job of not feeling like we're wrong. I mean, we do a podcast on energy drinks and performance, so I think we're doing all right there.
It's a tough one.
It is really tough, but it's good.
I
It's
would.
like how many times if you just think back to like what you've done this year or like recently, how many times have you hesitated on something because and when I think of like afraid of being wrong, that's also like synonymous with like afraid of looking like dumb or like looking a little stupid, something like
Or
that.
having
How
that
many
shame.
times, right? Like, how many times do you hold back from that because of like whatever the social stigma and stuff like that?
Very true. And it's one of those things where it's like, can you just turn off the part of your brain that feels extreme amounts of shame? Obviously not in like the dumbest situations where you just act like an asshole, but in
Hmm.
like stuff that like there's a lot of risk, but there's a lot more reward on that end. And like just kind of being, like you say, quicker to pull the trigger, like not hesitating and just not overthinking and kind of getting, we've talked about it before. Nick Baird talks a lot about this, but like the paralysis by analysis of like, if this could go wrong, it's like, if you just don't think, go. I think we'd be a lot quicker to just execute things that we're passionate about but scared to do,
Yeah, and I think
which
this
I
is
don't think is
like
wrong.
no, and I think social media is like the big one that comes to me is like a lot of people want to I don't even say like want to be like famous, but like they want to like post on social media. They want to get something going on there, but they feel like what they put out is going to be scrutinized, which like yes, but it's also the internet. And like something that's like helped me there is like at the end of the day, not many people, I mean, we all do this. We all think that everyone is paying a lot more attention to us than they are.
They
When
are.
in reality, they're worried about the exact same thing with themselves. Like everyone's just worried about themselves. Whatever you do, unless it's like super outrageous, it's probably not going to make a huge, it's not going to kill you. So you might as well do what you actually want to do within
Yeah.
reason.
I think of like the Alex Hormozy kind of quote, and he's been on a couple really, really good podcasts where he talks about this, but he basically, he's a very like nihilistic person, but he's just like, hey, you're gonna be on here for 80 to 90 years and then the lights go dark and then nothing's gonna happen. So
Mhm.
why not go out there every day and enjoy it and love what you do and put everything into it while you're here? Because you only get so many, years or how much amount of time. And every time I start to have like one of those kind of like do I do it, not do it kind of decisions, I kind of think back on that. It's like, would I rather be on my deathbed going, oh my God, I regret not doing this, that, or the other, or being there being like, I'm fulfilled, you know?
Yeah.
And it's such a it's corny, it's cliche, but at the same time, you're like, every decision that you make is always going to affect one person. It may affect others in each decision, but it will always affect you.
Hmm.
Would you be happy with the outcome if you just went for it? Or would you be happier if you didn't? You know? So it's like, do you just go for those things? Like, in the sense, like, dude, we have a freaking podcast of talking about energy drinks, and we've tried many things that didn't work out, and we tried a lot of things that worked out spectacularly. But we just went for it, and we didn't think. And the first two, we were like, we're gonna look stupid, and we're just gonna go
Hmm.
for it. We could be still wrong. We don't know. The jury's still out. But like, we've grown it a little bit. We've done a lot of this. We've got merch. You're wearing merch right now.
That's
Like,
right.
there has to be less. There needs to be more good people with less shame, and there needs to be far less bad people with more shame, or far less bad people with less shame. You know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
But
No, that's a good way to put it.
like, the good people who have good ideas and they want to do something, and they're just scared because they're afraid of the negative context that will come with it, or whatever, whether it be socially, whether it be monetarily, whether it be whatever it is, etc. That you need to go for it. Now I'm sitting literally I'm short, but I'm sitting on my high stool here in my parents' basement. Um, but like, not to get on my soapbox, but like, just go for it. Go for it. If it's a job you want, go for that job. If it's the person that you want to date, go for it. If it's, hey, you're about to get underneath a bar 500 pounds and you've only ever done 475, go for it. Obviously, be smart with it, but go for it. Don't doubt yourself. You know,
Yeah. And I think it's something that I've noticed for myself personally has come a little bit easier with age. Like the stuff that I worried about when I was, 18 or 20 is a lot different now that I'm 26. And I think it's just
very
kind of
much.
life. It's just life experience, and you just realize like how little like a lot of that stuff that you thought mattered back then matters to you now. And not that it didn't matter, because at that point it did matter a lot to you, but you kind of just have more life perspective, and you're like, damn, that's like a very small blip on the radar in the scheme of things. And I I've said this quote before on the podcast, and it's one of my favorite ones. It's Tom Bilyeu, the founder of Quest Nutrition, and he says like the only thing that really matters at the end of the day is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. And again, it sounds corny, but like that's like self-esteem in a nutshell. Like, how do you feel about yourself when no one else is around? Not, there's probably a lot of people that feel their life looks really cool from the outside, but when they're by themselves, they're not
They
really doing
hate
what
it.
they yeah, they're not really living true to what they actually want to do. Um, and there's no amount of, yeah, like money
Money,
can,
fame, fortune.
yeah, like there's no amount of that can solve that problem to me. So, and
Hmm.
it's not a thing where you just like figure it out one day and then not don't have to worry about it again. It's like working out. You have to continue to do it to continue to get the benefits. You have to continue to, kind of get out of that comfort zone and have the self-awareness in order to keep making progress on that. It's not just something where you figure it out, turn the switch, and don't have to worry about it again. It's something that you're gonna have to like deal with probably your whole life. And that's why like I think both ends of the spectrum can provide a really good example. Like kids and old people. I think kids, like, they have no filter. They say what they want when they want. They don't care who's around. They don't care like if it's like they don't have a concept of like, oh, like I shouldn't say that. They just, you know, they say it freely. They do what they want. And then, old people, the same thing. They're like on the other end of the spectrum, but they've had enough life experience where they just like
Don't
don't
care.
give a yeah, don't give a fuck, and they're doing the same thing. But somehow
In the
in
middle,
the
we
in
get
the middle we like lose that, and that's probably partly because of how like society is structured, and partly it's probably partly a good thing, but I think you don't want to lose that, that childlike sense of just like spontaneity and
willfulness.
mhm.
it's almost like that golden handcuffs where almost every decision that you make, from the moment you're emancipated from your parents in the aspect of, hey, the financial responsibility and burden is now on you until the end where you've like, okay, I know I've made it. I have my retirement. Like I'm just chilling. Everything that happens in between, you're kind of sitting there going, what do I have to lose on this? It's not flipped. And which is crazy because if you look at like where we live right now and in this day and age and where we've lived geographically in this country, it's literally nicknamed the land of opportunity.
Hmm.
But everyone views it as what am I going to lose if this doesn't work out versus what can I gain from whatever this experience or this opportunity is in front of me. It's never viewed in like the positive optimistic light. It's always viewed from the more pessimistic side of like if this doesn't work out, what happens then? And I
Yeah,
think we got to go back to flipping that script.
it's like you're living. It's like you're living defensively, like you're playing defense when you need
Yeah.
to be playing offense.
Yeah. We got to start
You're
getting those we got to get the blitz packages in there instead of playing prevent defense like the Packers
exactly.
last night.
Yeah, you're playing. It's like one of my old basketball coaches says, like we're not playing to win, we're playing not to
Playing it.
lose. Like
Yeah.
when we were playing like shit, or like we are playing like too conservatively, like it's like look like we're playing not to lose. We don't look like we're playing to win. Don't let that be your life. God, I feel like a life advice guru here.
Yeah, you're killing it right now.
Yeah, join my course. Four payments of $799.99, and as a
Just
26
ask your
year old,
parents,
I'll teach you how to figure out your life because I have all of it figured out.
go into your parents' bank account, grab their credit card number, and give us the
Yeah, and I'm 26, so I haven't figured out. So you should trust me with your fucking life advice.
for
God, that's
real.
ridiculous. Yeah, we. That's a prime example right there. We need more good people with less shame, so we can see less of that shit.
I love it. Um,
Good question.
I got, yeah, that was a good question. I got one more, and then we'll kind of flip to some of yours. Um, William Ray, old teammate, good friend. This is a great one when it comes to like sports performance when you think about it. In a strength endurance framework, how important is long duration steady state? So I'm assuming he's kind of referring to like the steady state cardio, that zone two kind of work. If he's looking at a more strength endurance kind of block on his stuff, I think it's really context dependent. Just knowing what I know from Will, he does, he does a lot of jujitsu, kind of in more of the combat sports stuff. I think, if you're working on a lot of strength endurance stuff, like in that context, I I don't know how much the steady state kind of cardio, that lower intensity plays into the role because so much of what you're doing from the sport itself is the bang, 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 sports and context dependent, like conditioning. Like you're by rolling, by grappling, you will automatically become more conditioned for grappling. The strength endurance in that specific context of the angles, the pulling, the pushing, rolling, all that stuff will be naturally improved by doing it more. If you're doing it 3 times a week, 4 times a week, you're going to get that. I would view personally the steady state stuff, that zone two cardio, whether you're on a bike, walking, whatever it is, low impact stuff, because your sport is very high impact and then you're adding high impact within the weight room, even if it is strength endurance based, and, the higher rep schemes, higher set schemes, stuff like that. I think the zone two kind of stuff will facilitate the recovery in order to repeat those bouts. I think it's important. I don't think we should put the cart before the horse or lose the forest for the trees in this aspect of, hey, bang that out because if you get a better aerobic fitness just in general and a long duration stuff, you'll be able to then come to the sport and become so much more conditioned. Doing the thing as and keeping the main thing, that will make you better at that thing. I think this supports just the general aerobic fitness and that bouts to then supplement it. Adding it in 2 to 3 times a week versus the make that your pinnacle and work around that. That's my take, especially with like I don't want to say the average person, but someone who is doing like jujitsu for fun or they're not competing at the Olympics. They're training in this as a way of being fit and a way of like exercising for fun and then doing like, a couple competitions here and there. I think keep the main thing the main thing. I think that's the best way to do this without a burnout as well, and trying and keeping it like your life and keeping that as an aspect of your life versus flipping it on the script, where I think a lot of post collegiate athletes will bury themselves into a new sport that is now available and that becomes everything for them and then they get burnt out. I think supplement it with it. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I think zone two is something that like everybody should be doing in some capacity. Like we said, it's gonna like lay a good foundation, a good like aerobic base early on, especially. And then, if you're already like in good fitness, it's going to help facilitate recovery and help maintain
Mhm.
that aerobic base. Obviously, because if you're doing something like jujitsu or grappling, that's going to be. It's been a long time since I wrestled, but I don't think that's a zone two activity. Like your heart rate's getting
Oh,
up
you're
pretty
zone
high.
4 or 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're probably like zone 3 to 4 minimum. So, but I do think like if you're gonna do, it depends on like the time of the year too, and how like are you doing jujitsu 3 times a week, 5 times a week? If you're doing it 5 times a week, I don't know, you may not need a whole lot extra because you just want to take that time to rest. Versus like if you're just doing it 3 times a week, okay, maybe 2 other days a week where you intersperse it there as your kind of like low days, quote unquote, quote unquote. Um, yeah, I think it's a really good question, and like Brian said, probably a little bit better idea to do some like lower impact stuff like a bike incline walk, something like that. You can do, I mean, you can do like zone two like running and stuff like that, but it's like again you're just going to get, I don't want to
Beat
harp
up.
on the, yeah, like yeah, I don't want to harp on the interference effect because I think that's kind of like over overrated sometimes.
Exaggerated.
Yeah, I think that people exaggerate it, but it's just probably just going to beat you up a little bit more. I mean, zone two on a bike is going to be a lot easier on you than zone two, just like running. So just because like the muscular load and having to like weight bear and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't think I can really add too much to that one. Brian covered it pretty well.
Thank you.
That's right. Going off that one, I got one related to jujitsu. Shout out my boy Canyon KM Cooksley. Um, I was fortunate enough to be the best man at his wedding this past summer. About to see him this week. Love you, brother. Thoughts on jujitsu as a weekly form of exercise? I know this guy has been doing jujitsu since he actually lives out in North Carolina. He's in Lexington, so
Oh
shout
shit.
out to him. Yep, he moved there right as I moved out. We fucking just missed each other, but that's my boy, dude. I think that's a really I think it's a great form of weekly exercise. It's something that if I have more time and I'm in one spot that I know I'm going to be in one spot for an extended period of time, I would like to get into. I used to do like I grew up doing taekwondo, and I think like just having some other sport or skill to pick up could be fun and kind of switch it up for making training a little bit less stale at times. I think it's really good because obviously you're going to get a really good workout cardio wise. I think to a certain extent, it's like strength training because you're having to push and pull against another human who is trying to push and pull against you. Um,
I also view it as a little bit of like mental stimulation, right? And the brain is weird because and this might be me just like projecting this because I just watched some of the Chris Hemsworth stuff on his like, I think it's called like Uncharted. Chris Hemsworth has Alzheimer's and he's pretty nervous avidly about like, I don't want my brain to like falter. So he's doing a bunch of things and pushing himself a lot in order to try to like prevent some of this and keep every neuron firing. But in the sense, like you're getting you know, it's the common joke of like, I'll say this as a man, but like men always want to fix problems, right? Like, what do you have when you're doing a lot of the sports that are now quote unquote more leisurely in the sense of like boxing, jujitsu, golf? The entire thing is, hey, there's always going to be a problem to fix and something to work on. And this is for anybody, this isn't just men, but like when you're doing this stuff, it's like, okay, I'm really aerobically fit, but I'm not a technically good or skillful in this. I'm not great at leg locks, I'm not great at takedowns, I'm not good in the guard position, whatever it may be. So you constantly are working on something. It's very mentally stimulating. So I think it's really good as just aerobic fitness. and strength training in general, like you said, just more like, I guess, like more calisthenic-esque, just with an external body of mass versus your own. But it's also very mentally stimulating. So you're getting that from your brain. And then you also have, in all likelihood, there's something to be said about like an aggressive person finding something to where you can't just be all out aggressive. It will make you falter by being all out aggressive. So I think there's something to be said about like having that reserve and that, I guess, the little bit of like withholding of that aggressiveness and learning to be passive and stuff like that, letting things flow. So I think there's a lot of mental training that can go with this, and I think it's really good. I'm the same way as you, obviously not as moving around as much, but if I had more time, and I could fit that in, even if it's just one time a week, and if it wasn't fucking $270 a month to do it, please, somebody. I would love to do it every week. Like, hey, every Sunday morning, I'm gonna go roll on the mats, and I'm gonna do some jujitsu because it's just fun. I wrestled for a little bit, did a little bit of combat sports before I moved, and it was a great time. The people there care about it. It's a good community to be a part of. Same reason a lot of people love CrossFit. It is like a cult where you have like-minded individuals all going to do one common thing that they gather around each other. Good community. It's one of those things. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, and I feel like it also probably gives you a very good like sense of confidence, like knowing like, oh, I can potentially kick someone's ass, like if you get good at it. Not that that's what
Yeah,
you never get into it for that reason, but like the confidence of being like physically capable, and that comes with just
yeah,
general like working out in general. But I think this one specifically. So
for
yeah,
sure.
I think it's a great form of weekly exercise. You just start doing it so you don't so my buddy doesn't kick my ass next time I see him.
Puts you in a headlock. So what's up?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'll get back to you on that next week's episode. He did it. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to a couple of Lakey's questions here. He's got some really good ones. Is college S&C dying? Lots of less interns at the college level and more people leaving for tactical or private sector. That's his question. Is college
When I
S&C dying?
when I saw this one come through, I was like, this is going to be such a good question to talk about. I think in a little bit, yes. You know, being where I'm at, we see a lot of like interns come through and we see a lot of job opportunities arise because they come to Nick and he's asking questions on it. Do you have someone for this? Do you know if anyone that's good recommend? All these things. I think in a little bit, I don't know if it's dying at a rapid pace. I think in a little bit it is dying. I think like the pay scales, everyone complains about the pay scales. They're not outpacing current inflation, so it's become less of a viable option for interns to come in and do this. I think the rising cost of inflation also makes it harder for them, like in a sense, to come work for free for 2 months as an elongated interview to get a job somewhere and move again. However, I think we've just simply reverted a little bit to, the 2010, 2011 kind of space where kids graduate high school and they think, I deserve a job, I'm going to get a job. I have no experience, but I just know that I'm ready, in that sense. I think we've reverted a little bit to that, and maybe that's a college degree type of thing because this is a job field where you need a degree, and maybe that's one of those things where you know they're kind of getting pumped up again of like you are ready to go have a job and you should have people lining up at the door to hire you. So when they get the internship, they get I don't want to say like they're taken aback, but like they're like, oh, work for free. I thought I was ready, and they just kind of say no, you know. But then you kind of go on the flip side, and we have some interns that, you know, they were looking for opportunities, and we brought in four on, the last little bit here on the last stretch of this semester. We're bringing them in for this next one, and some of them have had jobs, like full-time gigs, and they were like, I need to get out, and I want to of where I'm at, and I want to get into college, and I want to do this. So it's hard because I think it's not dying like I said, it's not dying as fast and as rapid as we had thought. I do think it's starting to slip. And if something doesn't course correct in the next couple of years, I think it's going to be less and less and less and less.
Yeah. I'm coming from a little bit different perspective since I'm not in college right now. I will say I think people are becoming more. I'm gonna say that they weren't open to like private sector and professional before, but I think if you started in college, you were around other people who were also in college, and there was kind of like a stigma around all like private
He's
sectors
quitting to
and
go to
that.
private.
Yeah, like once you go, like you could never come back. Like it's a, it's like an impossible feat to do. Um,
Yeah,
I think people are just like seeing that, okay, there's more money also a lot of times in professional and in private sector. Like there's an opportunity to earn more. You may not be working with the same demographic, like you may be working with more like youth athletes, but there's an opportunity to make more money. There's opportunity to work more regular hours. Like if you're working at like a, say like a D1 training or like an ETS, they're going to probably have set hours that they're going to train people, and you're not going to be reporting to a sport coach who's always changing stuff. You don't have to deal. That's a big part that you're not going to have to deal with. You're not going to deal with sport
yeah.
coaches. You're not going to have to deal with class schedules. You're going to kind of set your own schedule.
I think the
So I think that's a little
flexibility
bit of more
option
of, yeah, I think that's a big allure to it. I think that's a big allure to it. I think also the allure is, college S&C. You can't really just say, "Oh, I want to live in Chicago." All right, let's see what's. You can't just,
available
like, yeah, you can't just like expect as like, okay, I want to live in this city or in this state, and then expect for there to be a job that's going to be open that you're going to be able to get. Versus
with a
private
livable
sector,
wage.
right? Exactly. Versus private sector, if you go to any sizable city, you can probably get a job. Like if you're qualified, you can probably find an opening at some sort of private sector. Or if you're even like if you want to do personal training, there's probably even
Hmm.
more opportunities to do that in whatever city. My buddy Nolan, he he moved out to Denver to personal train. Did that for a year. And now he's moving back. He's actually going to pilot school. He's going to be a pilot. Um, but he was like, yeah, like he's like, I think Denver's sick. I'm gonna move out there. He went out there, trained people. Like you can't really do that in college S&C. Like if I was like, okay, I want to live in
Yeah,
Denver and just wait and wait and wait, like I might be able to intern out there, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna get a job out there,
that's not. Yeah, there's
especially
no
out of
necessarily
college.
an opening because there's a fixed amount with colleges. It's not like a new like in a private sector, and even in some regards like tactical, you could sprout new brigades. You have splits, but especially in private sector, there's a new facility that'll pop up any day of the week. You can't just necessarily pop up a Division 1 school. That takes a
No,
lot of time, and most of those have already been established. When's the last time you heard of another school is now opening? You see closings, so it's that part of the career is diminishing. And if there's 400 schools, there's think an average of 4 people per staff at each school. All right, we're looking at 1,600 jobs. That's few and far between with a very flooded job market. So most people aren't necessarily going to it. I think they've kind of discovered that, like, with such a limited amount of jobs, you would think that there would be a higher pay scale because it's like, hey, these are the prestigious ones, but they're not as prestigious because the pay scale isn't huge, and they're just like they're kind of turned off by that opportunity now. And right, I think with that there is to a certain extent like that part of the career is dying. It's you know not to be all mopey and pessimistic, but the last of a dying breed, man. Like there's obviously going to be someone at every turn that's like, I don't care what it pays. I want to work in college. I want to logo chase, whatever it is. But then there's going to be the people who are like, look, dude, I'm 30. I just had my first kid. 35K ain't gonna cut it.
mm,
I got it, and I want to train people, so I'm gonna bet on myself. I'm gonna open up a smaller facility, and I'm gonna work my way up, whatever it is, or I'm gonna go change career paths. Those
mm,
it's dying off, and it's it's a versatile young man's game or a young person's game to be fluent and move around for the next job. And once you have that stability in your life, you're very remiss to want to remove it. I think
right.
so. It's
Yeah, I think
tough.
you get squeezed by the lifestyle factor. Like you can't. You're just not willing to live that type of lifestyle anymore, or like
Hmm.
you you want to make like a decent amount of money. And like we talked about this on our episode with Hewitt, he said like there's not, once you get to, a director, there's really not much higher. There's kind of a pretty hard ceiling for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could be like an assistant AD, but it's not like in business where like you can just keep climbing, 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 climbing. And then once you get to that director spot, a lot of those people are gonna try to stay in those spots for as long as possible. So there's not a lot of them opening up.
Yeah. Until there's a retirement. And typically, when someone's on the brink of retirement, they've kind of already found their successor and kind of made it an easier transition for the entire organization versus bringing someone in new and being like, okay, let's scrap everything and go for it. Now, that does still happen. I just think, like I said, you can probably count how many there were in the last 2 years, probably on one hand of that occurring versus
Exactly.
like just formulating a natural successor in those parts of the business. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. That was one of the Lakey, that's incredible. It was one of those ones that we've always talked about a little bit. I mean, we haven't dedicated a ton of time to and starting to address, but when I saw it kind of pop up, I was like, that's one that we have to talk about.
Yeah. To go off a couple other ones that he had, keep it rolling here. I know he's talked about this before. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot. Um, is there validity to programming based on ISA, so infrasternal angle, wide versus narrow, mainly with thinking about exercise selection and going off that like a part two? Is there validity in programming for compression versus expansion exercises? Kind of going with the ISA stuff. Man, this is a rabbit hole that you can really go deep down. I haven't really dove down in a whole lot. I'm very surface level with like I know what the infrasternal angle is. I know there's people that consider it a great amount when it comes to programming. I know there's people that probably don't even know what it is and program and do just fine. It's one of those things where there's a thousand ways to skin a cat. Some are probably better than others.
Mhm.
I think the shape of your rib cage definitely impacts how you're
Influences.
able yeah, influences how you're able to execute certain movements. I think there's validity in considering it as long as you're not disregarding like base principles, if that makes sense. If you're
Yeah.
using it like an excuse to saying like, oh, this guy is narrow or wide, therefore he can't do this and must do this, and okay, like at the end of the day, okay, yeah, you can take that into consideration. You probably should to some point. Like if someone like looks like shit during a movement and you coach them up and they still look like shit and you change the constraints and they still look terrible, okay, yeah, maybe you need to find something else that's kind of like a similar pattern where they can load it through a full range of motion. Like some guys are just going to do better in like a split squat than they are in a bilateral squat. Totally agree with that. As long as you're able to progressively overload it over time through a full range of motion, I think that's fine. I don't think that you should say like, oh, this is like off limits for them. He can't do this because of this, because I think that just creates like that just creates like
It-
a fragile
for-
mindset,
yeah.
and it makes them feel like, tells the athlete like, oh, you can't do this because of this.
It's
And I
it's
think
a
that's
limiting thing. It's telling them they're, almost like there's a thing outside of your control that you just will never be able to do. And it's a very I want to say it's a very like it's a diminishing mindset for one. The other thing I kind of think about in this is like when you go play in sports, and you think about a more like ball or field or court sport where it's like so many different things can happen. They're not going to stop the fucking game because you're like, wait, he's going to hit a bilateral squat to make the tackle. You got to
yeah.
stop. They're going to end up having to do that. I think an anti-fragile kind of mindset on there where it's like, okay, we may not make that the point of emphasis for you, but you're still going to do it.
Hmm.
You have to prepare that for all possible outcomes. And that's kind of our job is to, as a sports performance coach, is to make them robust enough in all areas to be able to be competent in there. That may not have to be your emphasis. And you can use it to consider, like you said, you can use it to consider what might be the better way to push the strength number or to push the speed number or whatever it is. but it's not like I've seen some of it where it's like the depending on the ISA, like they'll influence like somehow they sprint, like, oh, they're great accelerators, we're just gonna pound acceleration. So that kid's never gonna reach top speed if he breaks one open. So you're just never gonna train that. That'll be the first time he experiences it is in a game. I hope you're understanding and I hope your AT's understanding about the injury rates going up because you just like, it's never gonna happen. You know? Those are things that like I kind of think about, and it's like you're better off just training in a vertically integrated model or something concurrent to where, or even if you look at like the Louis Simmons stuff, which is kind of like the West Side's kind of a concurrent model, but like very varied in types of exercise. It's like if you're constantly varied, they're making an adaptation in some way, shape, or form or another that there's going to be some kind of gain. I think where it goes wrong is, kind of like we've talked about this in terms of like ISA. Um, Having too much emphasis in one area, making that like your source of truth versus like, okay, I'll consider it. And there is things that like this guy's really wide, he's probably better bilaterally or whatever it is. We can probably, when I have that more max effort day, I'll give him an option to go to like more bilateral versus being like he can't ever do this, like you'd mentioned. That's
Mhm.
you're setting them up for failure.
Right. And I think it just is it's going to tell you what they're going to tend to be better at.
Yeah.
And, like I said, if a guy's better at bilateral stuff, okay. When you're really looking to drive output, okay, bilateral, play to his strengths. But I also think there's something to be said about, you know, lifting and, exercising in general can be seen as a skill. Okay. If he looks shitty at this, let's
Do it
expose
more.
him to it a little. Yeah, do it more and learn the skill. That's like motor learning. What are good athletes really good at doing? They're good at solving movement problems. And if you never let them go outside of what they're good at, they're not going to get better at solving movement problems.
To an extent, and this isn't like a knock on anyone that uses a ton of like ISA, and I'm using ISA as an example here. But to an extent, do you think a little bit is a little bit of a personal bias when they get too into it of like, I don't want to make myself look bad if someone's a bad mover at something, if someone were to walk in,
Yeah, I think that's very real. I feel like I've
like a
felt like
subconscious
that too because
bias.
it's like, yeah, because you want people to have good form and you feel like if they don't have good technique, that's somehow your fault because you're the one supervising them. When really, one, this stuff takes time. Some people can figure it out right away. Usually, like, good athletes can figure out that stuff like very quickly. For some people, it
Hmm.
takes a little bit longer if they've never done it before, or there could be limitations with we could talk about ISA or and other anatomical factors. How often do like super tall guys or super tall athletes in general get kind of babied because they're told like, oh, like, you do
Your
this
femur length's so
because
long you can't
you
squat.
can't squat deep, like,
How many times have
yeah.
you been at a gym, especially like us, when you're traveling or something, and you hit a big squat, and you're pretty hyped about it, and some guy's like, "Yeah, I couldn't do that. I'm just too tall." I'm
Right, it's like,
5'8", man. I
okay,
hear that shit all the time.
yeah, it's not as simple as like, oh, like, yes, you can, but there is a road to get there.
Yeah,
It just may be
and
a
it's
little
like,
bit tougher, and you might have to change the constraints a little bit, or change the loading parameters, or the modality, even the implement that you're using.
yeah, and I don't know. It's like that's like saying, well, you're 5'8", you'll never dunk. You know, I
Right.
can I can go up grab a rim whenever I want because I just
Yeah.
trained
Mhm.
physical power output and rate of force development and jumping. It's a
Yeah.
skill. You have to just train it. You can
Mhm.
get there. I don't know. It's like it's for me. It's also kind of obviously you can't change your height. Well, you can with surgeries now, but it's not the same as like someone's like overweight and being like, well, you'll just never be able to run because you're just overweight. Obviously, it's a little bit different because they can change weight, but like that's like just kind of defeating them in that purpose of like, no, you can like yeah, go for it. Like you can do it despite that. Like versus looking at it and be like, because of that, I can never. You could
Mhm.
still try. You might fail, but you'll learn something. Even at the very least, you'll learn something. And you might not get to the ultimate pinnacle goal, but you probably get around it if you just keep
Mhm.
working at it. It's a skill, like you said.
Yeah. And then as far as like the compression versus expansion exercises,
I'm ignorant on that. I ain't gonna be an stat dog. I'm ignorant.
yeah, I'm kind of similar. Like, I mean, just trying to think logically, like, I feel like most people I would say are more compressed just from lifestyle. I
The
think of like, yeah, or I think of like a
the
baseball,
kyphosis of the shoulders.
right? Or like, I think in baseball, like a catcher, they're going to be more compressed because they're always like in the deep squat position, or like a wrestler, they're going to be always kind of more like hunched over, stuff like that. So maybe
Versus someone
there's,
who does a ton of upright running is probably a little bit more expansion oriented. Like
yeah, I don't know how that plays into, I really don't know how that plays into
this is part of us
exercise
showing our
selection.
ass. Like
Yeah, like I honestly, dude, I need to look into it more. I don't have a very good idea. I would
I,
think that if someone is always in a compressed state, it may just make them feel better and be a little bit better for them to get them into a more do some more expanded exercises just to like keep them feeling good, and maybe vice versa, but I could be completely wrong on that too. Um
yeah, my gut check thought is like people who are more a compressive type of athlete are probably going to be good at like the eccentric aspects of things and a little bit better on that, where it's compressing or flexing versus like an expansion type athlete is probably going to be really good at extension, you know,
mhm.
which if you broaden it out and you look at it from a 10,000 point view, it's like the people who are really good at extending are typically the power athletes who in their sport have to be in like an expanded role of that diaphragm versus the compressive athletes are more compact, generally like are in that like compressed state in their sport, like a catcher or things like that, or a wrestler. So I think it's it's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing where it's like, are they really good at that because they were born that way and that's the way that they're anatomically set up, or are they that way and prone to being better at that because they've done so much of that skill-based work that has naturally put them into this kind of box.
Yeah. And I want
So
to know if ISA can change based on training. I think it can.
that's you have to like the you look at like a rib cage. When you take a long, deep breath, like a box breathing type of thing, you have a massive expansion of that diaphragm, and the rib cage does expand because they're floating bones in a sense, to where they do have like that lock, but like they have that float, to where if you train a lot of the expansion and that extension, does that naturally then kind of push the needle on that, like on that spectrum? Do they then float a little bit more towards the expansive type of athlete, so vice
Yeah.
versa in a compressive type of athlete? So
Yeah.
it might be a rabbit hole for us to chase one time on an episode for sure, or even just in our
Hmm.
own time. But
Right.
at this point, I haven't put enough weight into ISA to dive deeper into it. My surface
Hmm.
level knowledge of learning it at conferences and reading a couple books and just kind of being like, I just don't think this is going to be very applicable. My thought is I wouldn't put too much weight into it. That could change.
Yeah, I agree. Good question.
Mhm.
Good to think about for sure.
Can we get some of the Hank Unlocked ones? I know he's got some good ones.
Yeah, he does. He does have some good ones. So he's first one. Jake's takes question mark. Man, that was I I
That was
I,
a
I
flash
feel
in
like
the
we have,
pan.
yeah, we got to take responsibility for that one. It it was a flash in the pan. It was
It
fun
was a
while it
good
lasted.
segment.
It
It was
was
a
a
good
good
segment.
it was a good segment while it
Longevity.
lasted. The longevity was not good. The
Yeah,
fun
you
factor
think
was high. The longevity was low.
this is like the logistical thing of like a podcast where it's like if it's me and Christian and we don't have a producer, Christian is basically our producer here, um, getting us together every Sunday and organizing that every week, pretty easy and
Yeah.
very fluent with that. Um, Vice versa with like bringing a guest on, like when I'll usually kind of curate our guests here. And when we do that, it's a lot easier to bring one person in at one time and be like, okay, we can change our schedule. When you're trying to consistently
Oh,
get three people on and bring one in as a segment of the show, not as a pre-recording, and maybe that's where we went wrong is like, hey, we should have did like a pre-recording and had him, bring it in. But then you lose a little bit of like the live aspect and us asking questions. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough, especially when you consider like three different lifestyles on that stuff. And it just didn't work out. But
right.
it was
The
fun while it lasted.
Yeah, the more people you have to coordinate with, the tougher it gets.
Yeah.
Um, Most of the time we're good on that with just two, but even sometimes like with travel and whatnot, that can
Or
even be a
like,
challenge. Or like the time zones and stuff like that. Yeah, the more it's just more factors. Like if we did this full time, absolutely. But
it'd be
like
different
we have, we have a podcast. We're not podcasters. Um, we're
as much as we'd
we're
like to be. We're not.
yeah. So that's Jake's takes.
Yeah.
Did Brian ever take the OG formula of Jack 3D?
That shit was so sick, man. Yeah, I did. I remember being in my high school weight room and I was like in eighth grade. That was like when seventh grade, I like started to lift. I remember we would go 3 times a week. And I was like, I ride my bike there, work out with like the high schoolers in the morning. And then like my football coach was like, dude, you're pretty strong. You should like stay into this. And so the following summer, one of I think it was might have been Cody Kasprak, our starting middle linebacker. He had a tub of Jack 3D, dude. And he hit me with the you want to scoop? That shit, it legitimately hit like crack. That shit was so good. And it's not like, oh, it tastes great. No, it did not taste great. It was okay at best. And it put the DMAA in there, like you felt like you could legitimately run through a brick wall. If we could ever get the FDA to or the FDA to like let up on that and get that original formula out. I know they're coming out with another Jack 3D. It's not the original formula. I'll still get it to try it. But if they could come out with the original formula, bang, man, like let me get into that.
Yeah, I was never privy enough to try the OG, but one can hope. Here's a good one. Top three energy drinks and a song that embodies its vibe. This is a good one. Oof, this is a
Ooh.
good one. The song is the tough part for me. Top
I
three
feel
energy
like we
drinks is easy.
we can't cop out and say Somewhere I Belong by Linkin Park. That's the one that it's always like masculinity the on all the Instagram reels. So we can't cop out and hit that one. Um, do you want to go first or do you want me to go? I think I might have one.
Yeah, you started off.
Top three energy drinks. I'm gonna say iced tea lemonade from Ghost, the iced tea lemonade from Bum. I love that one, and probably black cherry vanilla from Gorilla Mind.
Oof.
Those three. That's my top three. And I think I don't know if it's maybe because like I'm on my I'm a little bit of a old school like late 80s early 90s like hip hop guy, but I might say the song that kind of embodies them is like Dope Man by NWA.
That's a good
Dope
one.
Man, Dope Man.
Dude, I would have for energy drinks, I gotta go root beer bum. I gotta go black cherry vanilla grill in mine too. And then I'm
Incredible.
going I'd probably go strawberry candy grill of mine. Or iced tea lemonade goes too. I'm thinking like let's see. A little bit newer, but still kind of old school. It's like 2000s. Um How We Do by The Game and 50 Cent.
Great song. I think that's
Yes.
right there. I
It
think
is like such a great
honorable
song.
mention song for both of us. I think to describe our energy drinks again, kind of staying on like the hip hop beat and again old school but a little newer school. It's early 2000s. All There by Jeezy.
Mm, yep. Ooh, another one. Like if I'm gonna go like like a rain or a bang, I gotta go like Mega Man by Lil Wayne. Something's just like
Oh,
in your face, just like get you pumped, like run through a wall and then crash.
if I picked like a little bit more of like a rock song that would kind of embody it, obviously, "Burn It to the Ground" by Nickelback. That's got to be right there. Just setting
Hmm.
that up. Any of those like old WWE like openers and intros, like you get like Papa Roach in there, like any of those, you're like, man, those. I
I
mean,
got it.
Dothan interns like have that playlist on there, and any one of those songs with any one of those energy drinks, you're like, I'm gonna crush this lift.
Hmm. Yep. I'll give one for all the Latin viewers out there. I'll go Moscow Mule by Bad Bunny. You know, if you know, you know. I mean, even
That's a
even
good one
people that don't know Spanish like that song. That's how you know it's good. That's how you know. That's how you know it's a good artist. Like
for sure.
Bad Bunny is the Drake of Latin music. Just how like people that don't know English like Drake's music. People that don't know Spanish like Bad Bunny's music.
The other thing, the other one I was thinking of is like, we think of like, we didn't put it in our top five, but it's the godfather of all energy drinks, is the OG White Monster. If I think of that drink and I like put it into a song, I kind of think of like "Meant to Live" by Switchfoot. Like you
Okay,
just crack that, and you take that first sip, you just hear that, oh, just incredible. What a great question. That one's just,
that one's unique.
people will read that and just say, hell yeah.
Yeah. Which one more question from Hank? You asked four questions. Real OG. If there was an energy drink flavor that embodied hell yeah, what would it taste like?
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to say the iced tea lemonade, but I love that one because that's like a flavor that I grew up drinking. Like, we've talked about it before. Like my mom would always like get Arnold Palmer's wherever we went. But I think like as a universal flavor, where someone takes a sip of that and just goes, "Oh, hell yeah." I think you have to go a grapefruit, like a grapefruit flavor.
Oof.
That white monster, the white grapefruit kind of like flavor that every energy drink makes, and you just sip it and you're like,
That's it.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's gotta be like a grapefruit.
Yeah, I think it's either that or man, if they came out with like a sarsaparilla flavor. You already know I want this, but
A
or like
blue a Mountain Dew voltage flavor.
a Mountain Dew Voltage, yeah. Something like between a root beer and a cream soda. Something like that.
I think those would both be very good. I think another flavor that like people would take a sip of and be like, hell yeah. It would be like a cherry vanilla kind of Coke flavor, like a cola cherry vanilla. Not just cherry,
Yeah.
not just vanilla, a cherry vanilla in that. Like someone would take a sip of that. If it's like 300 milligrams, they'd just go, hell yes. Like, let's ride. Like, you have to go with those quintessential flavors, like kind of hit nostalgia, kind of hit like, this is going to be a banger.
Yeah, man.
Great question.
Great question. You got any more? I got two more.
I think I've worked through like all the ones we can read on the internet.
Okay. We'll finish it off with I got two that the two really good ones. Going back to Lakey, it all comes back to Lakey.
Always
Thoughts
comes back to
on
Lakey.
yep. Shout out. Huge fan. Check out Baseball Performance Network and Diamond Sports Mentorship. They just started that
Hmm.
thing. Him, Andrew Benham, Joe Padula. Definitely go check that out if you want some good, really good quality information on performance. Thoughts on floats versus max V time sprints and where they fall within the program. So floats basically like
Ooh.
sprint floats or sprint floats or sploats, sprint float sprints versus just a straight up, max V sprint or a fly 10 timed sprint and where they fall within the program. This is a good one. I think
Hmm.
before, if you would ask me like a year or even like two ago, probably even a year ago, I'd say like max V sprints I would probably be like, oh, max V sprints are definitely better. because
Hmm.
like timing everything. I was a big fan of timing stuff. I think they both have their place. I think max speed sprints for obviously like the competitiveness, being able to like objectively measure something and the intent behind it versus like a sprint float sprint or a sprint float. I think you might get a little bit better like technical execution out of a sprint float because they're not going to be worried about like straining for the timing gates potentially. They might be a little bit more relaxed. I don't know. I would almost view like the time sprints as something that you're probably going to do maybe a little bit less often. Now, a while ago, I would have probably thought like, okay, we want to time sprints like every week. But now I'm more inclined to say like, okay, let's time it at the beginning of a phase, then run, X program, and then time it after the phase. But I don't know if there's necessarily a right or wrong answer.
I don't think so. I obviously look at this from a different light, being like an actual sprints coach, like in track and field, than it is for a sports performance coach. I think it just depends on the time of the year, what you're doing, how far you're doing the distance. Like it's a fucking it depends answer. It depends. It depends. What I've grown to absolutely love is having both of them in the program on the same exact day. Let me do a heat check. Let me do a heat check with the gates. I look at like my 60 to 200, so that 100, 200 kind of group. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do a heat check. We're going to run maybe 1 to 2 fly tens, full rest, and I just want a max effort and kind of go. And then I'm like, all right, well, I kind of want to get some more technical aspects to it. So we might run like a sprint float sprint, or we might do like a 120 where it's a sprint and hold kind of sprint float kind of deal, where I want you to go for 30, 35 meters, and then you're just going to maintain that while really elongating the aspect of that more like speed endurance kind of thing. But your whole goal is like don't fall apart and kind of working towards that like functional capacity stuff that I've talked about before. They both belong in a program, in my opinion. If you never time anything, you'll never know if you're getting faster. But if you're only concerned about the time, you're now so focused and fixated on moving that needle on that one thing that you're possibly not making them a more technical runner. And again, there's something to be said about throwing in constraints within an exercise or a movement, whether it be in the weight room or on the field, to get a cognitive aspect out of it. It'll also give the athletes an opportunity to course correct and give them an opportunity to understand and feel when something goes wrong. If they shut their brain off and they're just ripping it as fast as they can, they're not necessarily always going to be in tune with what's going on. Whereas if you do a sprint and hold, sprint float, sprint, any of those things, they can feel they're like, okay, like I'm the first thing I ask is like, how'd that feel? And then they can come back to it and say, like, well, I felt like I was getting a little backside. Great. That's what I saw too. What should we do about it? Should we do an intervention right now and then run another one? Or do I say, hey, I want you to fixate or focus when we're in that hold phase on this? And then we can get that faster. And then down the line, you can probably integrate the two of them where you're having a 20-20-20, in the sense of track, or maybe a 10-10-10 in the sense of like a field sport, sprint, float, sprint. And then that last 10, it's a fly, or you're timing the first 10. You can always do that. And I think, I think a lot of people get very dogmatic and it's like, it's one or the other, it's one or the other, it's one or the other.
Mhm.
I think they both belong. They have to go together. And what I like to do, honestly, um, in a different way, it's almost like you can do a 2 week block or you can do a 3 week wave where you go like sprint for output, sprint for technical component, sprint for output. Or you can kind of do a loading parameter where you go 75% total volume, 100%, 60%. And 75 is the learning, 100 is the full bulk of the work, 60% is going to be that testing day where now like you might be going after the same idea or the same biomotor quality, but I'm going to time it instead. So we're going to see, and like you said, at the end of that cycle, judge and see how it went. They both belong. They have to, in my opinion. And whether that is putting a GPS on somebody and always working on the sprint and hold, or always doing the sprint, float, sprint because you're getting that number regardless, so you can focus on that, or just sending them on a race or getting that number or putting them into a gate. Understanding what it is you're exactly going after is more important than just inserting things into the program. And if you know you're like, I need to focus on the technical component because that right now is our common denominator where we can improve, you're probably going to put more sprint and holds with a technical emphasis and speaking and coaching in there versus like, okay, everyone sprints really great, but our straight outputs, like we don't have the 22-mile-an-hour people. You're probably going to want to push the bar on just the full effort sprints, right? Are you right before preseason? You're probably going to do the more technical walk back aspect. Whereas if you're in the bulk of the work and you're like, I know we have a long time, that we can kind of lean towards the more risk or the riskier stuff where it's like unloading and just ripping it. Understanding that will guide most of the decisions. I love this question because obviously it's sprint stuff. That's where I want to be. It's always what I want to answer. But I think those two belong hand in hand. Think of them as twins, not distant cousins. You want them in the same room together.
Yeah, I really like the using them in the same session. And I think you could also use that as, you do a heat check of a fly 10. If they're really close to a PR or even a PR, maybe
Shut them
you
down.
keep, yeah. And then, or maybe if they're super far away and they just look like shit, then maybe you go more technical because you know you're not going to get that output, but you can still
You can
get
go
something
plan A,
out
plan
of.
B.
Exactly. Be a little bit flexible with your approach.
The thing is like you can still keep the distance the same by walking back the intensity, or you can keep the intensity the same by walking back the distance. And you can
Hmm.
still get the desired outcome of a max V session, just focusing differently on that if you have a plan A, plan B, plan C going into that day, especially with rehab athletes, because so much of like what they're doing is fluent day to day. You could have a full 6 months planned out if it's an ACL, or 6 weeks if it's a hamstring, whatever it is, and they come in that day and they're like, the PT stuff today like really fired it up. I'm not feeling great. Like, okay, you're gonna have to walk it back.
Hmm.
Well, obviously, you might not be doing full fly tens with them unless they're at the very late stage of integration back into return to like full practice and participation, but you can walk it back. Same thing with like dribbles. You can do that. It's a more technical aspect if you're walking back from a sprint float type thing, where it's like, okay, I may not be getting the high velocity stimulus on there, but I can still get impacts and the limb speed to be pretty fast, but not as fast as if I'm turning over at the farthest end of the spectrum.
Hmm.
Great question. I mean, that one just fired me up, man. What a day.
Yeah. I got one that we have to end on last, but certainly not least. Is from Rooney Performance, Connor Rooney, aka the guy that I get to work with this year in Iowa. All it says is 25-degree morning in Iowa in March. All I'm going to say is I'm looking forward to it. Maybe not for the 25-degree mornings in March, but that's classic. It's going to be cold for that first, month or so of the season,
You'll get
but
used to it.
exactly. So, dude, shout out Rooney. I'm looking forward to tackling the AAA, the 150 game gauntlet. Um, yeah, dude, I'm pumped. Not pumped for the inconsistent weather, but it's the
It do
Midwest
be
for
what
you.
it do be. Yeah.
Exactly. So, damn, dude, that
Let's
was
get
a,
some
that was a good
rankings.
Q&A. Yeah, yeah.
I
Let's get
think
a
so. Let me hear about that C4.
yeah, man. It was. I really like the formula here. I think it's obviously it's 300 milligrams of caffeine. You're gonna feel it, but it is very smooth. Like I said, that tri-stim experience. The flavor was good. It was mostly I didn't really taste much lemonade. It was the more I drank it, the most thing I tasted was just kind of like a subtle blackberry flavor. It's subtle. It's not my favorite. I would drink it again, but it's definitely wouldn't be like my preferred flavor. The blend is really good. It was a little. I mean, I paid like almost like $4 for this, which okay is tough, but at least it wasn't like a Red Bull where I'm only getting like 150 milligrams or 112 milligrams of caffeine for the same amount.
True.
Um, like the blend, I like it. The price was a little steep. The flavor was okay. Overall, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna go like a 6.8. I'm gonna go like a 6.8. The price and the flavor kind of knock it down, but if you are looking for something that hits as far as stimulant wise. They have a lot of other like really good flavors. I think it's the blue snow cone is pretty good in my opinion. They also have, I didn't see this at the Casey's that I went to, but I would like to try it. It's like a green apple flavor. I'm all
Tried
about
it.
trying those out. You
Got to
like it?
try it.
Okay, I need to try it.
It's different, but you got to try it.
Okay. So, yeah, 6.8. Not great, not terrible. Again, the price and the flavor, price was high, flavor was mediocre. Blend is very good though. So, Frostberry Freeze C4 Ultimate Energy.
The raw Tetra Pak protein shake. First off, I can't say enough about the price. 12 of them for $20. That's incredible. The only thing that's close to that in any drink capacity is going to be 3D Energy 12 pack for $20 on the energy drinks. And we love that deal. So obviously, if we love that deal, we're going to love getting protein at that deal. It's 11 ounces per box. Now, normally when we go into a drink, we're like, I'd love a 16 ounce. I think when it comes to protein, you don't like less is more. If you can get high quality protein, 25 to 30 grams, if not maybe 40. Like I think the only time like a 14 to 16 ounce is like if you're going 40 grams of protein, because otherwise it becomes too thick. But 30 grams in 11 ounces, clean ingredients. It is a milk protein, but it is hydrolyzed. So like you're getting high quality. You're not going to get a ton of lactose bloat. Um, Flavor is really good. I think if we rank this against the raw bottles, I think the raw bottles come out on top with an extreme amount of good flavor. Um, but for the price and what this is, like it's an 8.8. You know, if the bottles, the strawberry, the cookies and cream, the chocolate milkshake, those are like 9.4 above as like such a good RTD. This is going to be 8 points, slightly below. It's very mellow. It's easy on the stomach, incredible. If you're near Sam's Club and you're like, I just want protein, I don't want to mix it, I just want to go grab stuff, this is the one to go to. I think it's right there.
Oh, 8.8. That's solid. I need to try.
Yes,
I haven't really tried any of the other raw products besides the Bum Energy, so I need to
big
get on
fan.
that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Raw does it really well. But yeah, man, this is kind of the conclusion of, really the second full
2025.
year. The second full
Yeah.
year of Bad Boys. We've done a lot. I think we're over 100 episodes. It's been so far. I mean, we've gone from, we kind of did a wrap up of last year too, but like we've gone from doing it behind a counter at our nutrition station to having a studio at home to going fully virtual. And now we've brought in more and more guests. We've had an incredible time. Our guests have been incredible. We've gotten the opportunity to try so many different drinks. There's been conversations that we've had with, maybe not like necessarily full sponsorship stuff, but like we've been in conversations with people at like First Form who loved what we did and they subscribed to us. That's huge. That we may not get a sponsorship out of it, but like we have people who are in the industry that give a shit about it, watching what we do and what we say. I think that's really fucking cool. We have merch and we've released stuff out of that. We have people that we've met in passing that have now listened to us, and when we see them, we get text messages from old friends or people we've crossed paths with that have watched us and want to come on the show or have come on the show and just love it and have given us some rave reviews on it. It's incredible, man. It's a good feeling to know that like our little passion project has kind of come this far, even though I think we still have a long way to go. Um, but like to know that other people care almost as much as we do about this and what we have to say about it.
Yeah. I think the main thing that I'm proud of is the consistency. We haven't been perfect, but we have been like very consistent, and I think that's really the main thing that creates longevity. Obviously, like we can always get better at some of like the technical aspects, and like we're like everybody, like we're a little bit time poor. But I
Yeah,
think we did a pretty good job. Obviously, like Riverside is a very good tool that I think everyone should look into if they're going to do a podcast, especially like if you're a virtual one. And yeah, I'm looking forward to expanding on that in 2026. Obviously, it wouldn't be where it was without you guys, the viewers, the fans. So we really appreciate the support. I mean, I remember the first Q&A we did, like we like hardly got any questions or like we weren't really getting much engagement. And this one was like the complete opposite. Like I had like 13 questions, but like we had like over like probably closer to 30 questions in total when we consider all the questions we got. We have people asking multiple questions, both, and I think it's what we wanted. We have some that are about energy drinks and some that are about performance. It's like we say in the intro, energy drink reviews and performance talks. We're getting the best of both worlds, and I'm really grateful for that. So
It's a good feeling.
yeah,
And like you said, we wouldn't, if we didn't have the viewers that we did, I don't know if, I mean, obviously we probably would have kept sticking with it because we just love doing this, but I don't know if it would have made as
it
much
definitely
sense.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's super cool to have people, our army is small. The Bev Boy army is small, but we are mighty.
Yes.
And it's a fucking awesome feeling to be able to do this and have people actually watch and listen to what we have to say. So year in review, like we really appreciate everyone that tunes in, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, whenever you're just going on a road trip. I had somebody text me and said, I listened to 5 episodes on my road trip today. And,
Damn.
that's such a good feeling. Like I'm super grateful for that, that someone cares about what our show and what we do that much. So our goal is to keep scaling this and keep making it bigger and better and increase the size of the Bev Boy Army until it's a Bev Boys cult. Um, but you know, we appreciate everybody that comes out. As always, like follow us on Instagram, follow us, bevboys.tv, subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/bevboys, Christian's personal Instagram, my personal Instagram, go shop at
Yep.
bevboys.com.
Yep. Leave a review, Spotify, subscribe to the show. That really helps us. If you listen to the show consistently, definitely, if you're not subscribed, do that. Leave a review, share with your friends, all that good stuff. So, really appreciate the support, guys. And yeah, this will lead us. This will probably be our last episode of 2025. And then
Kicking
more
off with a book review.
kicking off with a book review in 2026. Stay tuned. Bev Boys Book Club, Triple BC. All right. Peace. That's all, guys.
Peace.
Peace.